Okay, welcome to another edition of Carnivore Bites. I'm your host, Jeff Sherman, along with Dr. Eric Lopkin. And Dr. Lopkin, I'd have to say, although maybe not earth-shattering, possibly, at least the most interesting bit of news came out, I think, yesterday. Elizabeth Warren the day before, quasi-announcing her run. Your take on that?
Oh, it wasn't quasi. She has announced she is running for 2020. She's the first official Democrat to declare. And it absolutely floored me.
Did you see her speech when she says, I got to get a beer?
No, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, she actually did that. But anyway, so she took questions from people, and she tried to be folksy. I mean, how disingenuous. She goes, I got to get a beer. Yeah, okay, please. She's drinking Chardonnay. She's not drinking beer.
Of course.
So anyway, so she made her announcement. She blamed business and basically, the disparity in incomes, which actually Trump has done more than anyone to kind of remedy.
Income is going up faster than at any time in the last 20 years. So what is she complaining about?
What does she run on? So what does she run on?
She is going to run on the age-old class warfare platform that the rich are too rich. They need to give up money to the poor.
Okay, does it crowd out Bernie Sanders? There's only oxygen in the room for one socialist.
I don't know if it's going to crowd him out, but they're hoping it will, because the Democratic Party is still very upset with Bernie Sanders. They blame her for him. They blame him for Hillary's loss.
Well, wait before you move on. That's not such a bad point. He roughed her up pretty bad.
Oh yeah.
I think without him, she wins. What do you think? How's that for a profound Carnivore Bites insight?
I don't know that she could have won. I think she made so many mistakes on her own.
I would agree, but
I don't know that anybody could have overcome the mistakes she made.
I disagree. I disagree without disagreeing, meaning I believe that she probably would have lost, but her chances would have been much better without him. I think she came as a bruised candidate.
Yes, she did.
Okay. So her probability of winning, although probably not a winner, because the thing about her, the interesting, and you can see it all the time, is a psychological phenomenon that we've already discussed on the show, is that the more you're around someone, you may not be like their best bud after a while, but you develop like a familiarity, a liking to them, for them. She was the opposite. The more you saw her, the more you're going, oh God. So, okay, so she has her hat in the ring. How do you like to handicap it?
I don't think she's going to do well. I think from her initial speech, she's talking about grassroots movements and small donors. Basically, she's trying to imitate what Obama did. But she's not Obama. She doesn't have
she's horrible on the campaign trail.
She doesn't have his campaigning skills. So trying to do what he did is not going to work. And quite frankly, I think that genetic test she took is going to come out against her.
Yes, I know, there's no question about it. Might even, when she loses, might hurt her en masse, because she swore up and down she wasn't running for president, and then obviously lied. But that happens more often than not.
Yeah.
The other issue in the news is a leading or ex-leading GOP representative from the great state of New York declared that Trump will not survive 2019. Your read on that?
I think he'll survive. I think he's going to get really beaten up. I know Jerry Nadler, who is a Democrat from New York, and he is the new head of the Congressional Judiciary Committee, stated today that one of the first things his committee wants to do, they want to pass something that's going to protect the Mueller investigation. So I mean, they're coming in guns blazing.
It's not going to go through. It's not going to go through the Senate.
The Democrats don't seem to realize that. they've talked a lot about, we're going to pass this and we're going to pass that. And great, you'll pass it in the House and then it'll die in the Senate.
Here's my pushback on your assertion. Trump may be bloodied. The biggest factor that may bloody him is the Mueller investigation. In other words, the findings might project a aura of malfeasance, of corruption, let's just say that, with no direct implication of collusion. That's going to hurt him. It just will, because it just will. I think I disagree. Well, I know I disagree with you on the whole effect of these countless investigations in the House. I think that helps President Trump, because it just like the judicial hearings, I think it just shows the Democrats as just being laughable.
Yeah, I think unless they actually have evidence to impeach him, all of this is going to strengthen
background noise.
Yeah, it's going to strengthen him with his backers. It's going to make his backers more likely to come out in 2020.
Exactly. And you can also paint the parallel of Clinton in the late 90s. He's actually, after the impeachment hearings, which never should have happened, by the way, I think we agree with that, his approval rating went up to like 70%. So be careful what you wish for, Democrats. I think it's this. If you want to know the real deal, and you tell me your comment on it. First, the Mueller investigation, how damaging?
Well, it depends on what evidence that they actually have. If they have real evidence, it's very damaging. If it's innuendo and things that sort of skirt around the edges, it's not going to be that damaging.
I would agree. I think it's like you're pushing. It better deliver, because if there's an anticlimactic deliverable, it just poofs into whatever, Never Land. Here's what I think. I think the Mueller investigation will do damage to him. But I think the real key, if the economy is good, sound, strong, in 2020, he wins. If it's not, maybe a problem. What do you think?
See, that's where he's going to have a problem, because most indicators are indicating that we'll have a recession in the latter half of 2020. So that's where he's going to have a big problem.
Okay, and but you know that these indicators, first of all, it's not real indicators. Just hear me out for a second. It's speculation, because predicting the economy 3 months from now is a roll of the dice. A year and a half from now is a joke.
I mean, at this point,
you could get a third grader predict.
Yeah, the economic indicators are showing that that's the soonest a recession will happen.
So if there's no recession,
he sails in for a second term.
Exactly. If there's a mild recession, I think he still squeaks it out barely.
Probably. I think again, there's a lot of moving pieces. It depends on if they actually can prove anything, and if they can't, that's just going to energize his base.
Agree, but in terms of the economy, if it's slow growth, he still wins. If there is a recession, if there's a major recession, obviously anyone loses. That's just how it is.
Right.
If there's a mild recession, I still think he still hangs on. Anything else that? Well, before I say anything else, government shutdown. Much new about nothing. I think it actually helps Trump. What do you think?
You know, at this point, government shutdowns have become routine. I mean, the only people that actually get affected are government workers. And quite frankly, you know, they really
don't get affected. Yeah. It's not a pleasurable experience.
It's not pleasurable. They have to put off certain things, but they'll get the money for this later on.
Yes, no question about it. So it's a tempest in a teapot. I don't know when I first heard about a government shutdown. Might have actually been in the late 80s with Reagan. I really don't remember. I was all scared, panicked. Oh, my God, what's going to happen? And then actually and then in the 90s, a famous one. I'm sure there was some in the 2000s. Yes, there were. They actually amount to nothing. I think the press is more enamored with it than anything else.
They try to make a big deal out of it. The fact of the matter is, prior to the Obama administration, the government shut down on average every 7 years. Since the Obama administration, I think there's actually been six shutdowns in the last 10 years. So they're becoming more and more frequent because people don't. And the big problem with them,
actually, I think the average person,
the average person doesn't get affected at all. The big problem is, of course, both parties try to blame the other. Well, guess what? A shutdown happens.
To Washington.
Right. A shutdown happens because of a stalemate. You can't have a one-party stalemate. So if all of these idiots didn't stop talking, this wouldn't happen.
Any other thoughts, Dr. Lopkin?
Other than wishing our listeners a happy new year and welcome to 2019.
There you go. Dr. Lopkin, Carnivore Bites. We'll do it again.
See you next week.
You've been listening to Carnivore Radio's podcast. You can catch us here every week. Carnivore Radio is part of the Xvadio podcast network. You can listen to the podcast at blogtalkradio.com/Xvadio. If you want to be part of the conversation, you can listen to us live every Friday at 4 o'clock on WESU 88.1 Middletown, Connecticut. You can also catch us online at WESUFM.org. We look forward to hearing from you and see you next week.